not true. It's bullshit.
This video is sponsored by
CoolStuffInc.com, so use the code Kenobi at checkout and my link in the description below for 5% off your order and to support the show. And of course, Ultra Pro 2, with all their wonderful protective products for your Magic the Gathering cards, including playmats and sleeves featuring official art, and the Eclipse sleeves, my personal favourites, and of course, Saturn Towers 2, which all my Commander decks are in because I love them. Well, that's a lie. I have one deck in an alcove, that's what I believe it's called, another Ultra Pro product. That's not the point! If you want to pick up some of that stuff with 5% off as well, use the link in the description below to pick up Ultra Pro products and support the show. Or pick them up at your local game store. Hello everybody and welcome to a new thing I'm doing where I get other people who are known on the internet to come on, who are new to Magic, or don't know Magic at all, and tell me whether they think cards are hot, or not, or actually broken. I'm joined today by PyrionFlax. Hello sir, who are you and what do you do?
Well, you invited me here, so I thought you might know, Vince. But no, I stream. He was so angry. And I mainly do Dota. That's the stuff that I've been known for.
Ice and fire! Yes!
Dota YouTube guides that were really stupidly drawn in MS Paint and everything. And welcome to PyrionFlax's Guide to Silence. Then I've gone on to do Dota events around the world, sort of as a commentator or a host or stuff like that. And now mostly I do streaming, and there's a podcast, the Triforce podcast, that I do with a couple of the guys from the Yogscast. But generally I do as much as possible because I get bored easily.
But you're not known for being good at Dota.
No.
You made silly guides and meme shit,
yes,
right?
I am known for being bad at games. But playing them anyway, because I love games. I don't think you need to be good to enjoy them.
I absolutely agree. I'm similar in that sense that I'm not known for being good at Magic. I'm known for having fun while playing Magic. What is your level of Magic understanding, would you say? How would you self-describe?
I didn't know how First Strike worked when I played yesterday. That level. I knew that it meant that they got to hit first, but I didn't know that if they had Double Strike, that meant they also had First Strike. So I thought...
So you haven't seen Triple Strike yet?
Haven't seen Triple Strike.
No, I'm joking. That doesn't exist yet.
Okay, alright.
Exist.
See, that I didn't get that. That's how bad I am. So yes, so I didn't realise that if they have Double Strike and you fight them, they get the First Strike, and if that kills your unit, that's it. I thought, this is great. I'll kill him with my Death Touch blocker, no problem. First Strike, dead. I was like, well, what?
Shit.
I might have picked some.
We'll see. I might have gone a bit too high level with some of the weirdness I'm about to show you.
I've been reading.
So the aim of this video, like I said, you're going to choose one of three categories. The card is either hot, not, or banned, right? Trigger's going to keep count, the editor. Hello, Trigger. You're going to keep count, I'm not. And at the end, we'll have a score, and then you win absolutely nothing.
Perfect.
The important thing, though, is that we can have a conversation around some of these cards, because some of them might blow your little mind, or big mind, as it were.
No, I appreciate that.
Because some of these are going to be very strange. Okay. Let's just jump into it then. So the first one I'm going to show you, and you're going to tell me if it's hot, not, or banned in some format, is this thing. This is the Denizen of the Deep.
Denizen of the Deep. It's an 8 mana cost card.
It is indeed.
Denizen of the Deep comes into play. Return each other creature you control to its owner's hand.
And it's an 11/11.
So 11/11 is obviously that's huge.
It's huge. It's fucking massive.
8 mana? I mean, and then
what's the biggest 8 mana creature you've seen up to this point?
What's that one that's a walking skyscraper? That's quite big, isn't it?
Yeah, the colossal...
Something like that. It looks like a building anyway.
And that ends the battlefield and does one of like 4 different things, right? This thing does one thing very particularly.
One thing.
It bounces your creatures.
It sends all your lads back into your hand. Now, I'm just trying to think why you would want to do that. I mean, I guess if they all have actives that come on when you put them onto the board. Or I don't know if there was some other card that says when a creature is returned to your hand, add +1/+1 and then put it back on the board. There might have been something stupid like that. This feels like a card that if it's good, it's like a win con card where you're like, oh my god, he's Denizen of the Deep. That's it. It's over. Or it's terrible. I can't tell.
Well, what are you going to settle for? Hot, not, or banned?
Each other creature you control to its owner's hand. 8 mana, 11/11. I mean, you could just blast it with like one board removal spell for all this. I'm going to have to say, I don't think it's hot.
You are correct. Okay. This card is dog shit.
Right.
No, there's some interesting things. Back in the day, because this card's quite old, big blue creatures would have downsides like this to balance them. So if you played an 8 mana 11/11, the downside would be bouncing your creature back to your hand. There is some weird fringe stuff, like you said, where they have actives, as you call them, enter the battlefield effects, where you can then replay them and get more value out of them.
Yeah.
That is a thing, but this downside is too high. And like you said, one board clear or one piece of removal when it's dead. It has no protection. You are, so far, 1 for 1. Denizen is dog shit.
Denizen
Next up.
Okay.
Yeah, Denizen are the dog shit. Next up, a much smaller creature. You might have seen this because it is on Arena.
Talia, Guardian of Thraben. First strike, non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. Now, does that mean for me or for them?
So this one, where Denizen was one-sided to you, this says full stop. So every player at the table, in 1v1 it's both players, in multiplayer it's everybody. All non-creature spells cost 1 more.
Gosh. I mean, that would help in terms of she's a 2-mana card. You can get her out nice and early. First strike is nice as well. And it means that you're board clear to get rid of her. Those little cheeky zaps that those blue bastards keep using to nuke my lads are going to be even more expensive. And also, I guess anything that's like does X plus damage. So it's like, you know, it does X damage. This is going to cost even more. So
yes, X spells.
I think this is
exactly.
good. I think this is hot.
You have nailed it. The card is very hot. I thought it'd be interesting because it's a downside, so I thought maybe it'd trick you out of Denizen as a downside. But no, normally you play decks where you don't play non-creature spells, you play very few of them, and then your opponent's board wipes and their removal costs more. And Thalia also stops combo decks. Have you seen decks that play like 15 spells a turn and stuff?
I have.
This will make... yeah, this makes all of them cost 1 more, makes them
Right,
worse.
yeah, that's great. Okay.
Fuck, you're doing... Okay, you said you didn't know anything about Magic, but you've learned First Strike and now you've got 2 out of 2.
You've been generous with these first 2, I think. Oh my god.
Seagate Colossus. Again, this is on Arena, so you might have seen it. A 7-mana 7/5.
So I haven't come across this. And the whole party thing, I still haven't seen anyone assemble a party with the cleric and the druid and the mage, and I guess...
No druids,
No
only
druids.
rogues, warriors, and wizards.
Okay.
It's only 4 of the possible... It's a very strange mechanic in that it only uses 4 of the D&D classes.
So I haven't seen anybody create a party. I've never bothered going down that road. I've tried to have dungeon delving decks that were quite... They were alright, but half the time I go into the dungeon, I'm like, yeah, it's alright. But is it worth building a deck around? I don't know. Maybe I'm just not using it.
But you've seen
right.
no one build around parties, is that what you're saying?
Not parties, no. I've seen people dungeon delve, but none of this party stuff. I think it's too complicated for people.
So imagine if you had a full party. This would be a 3-mana 7/5.
Yeah, that's insane. But you would have to have 4 other creatures on the board. And I'm thinking, if you've got 4 creatures on the board, probably in a bloody good spot anyway, I'm not so sure that you would then also need... I mean, I suppose it's a win con, but I feel like if you've already got 4 creatures on the board persisting between... Well, this would be presumably taking you at least 4 turns to get this far. That's pretty bloody good already. I don't think you need this bloody Seagate Colossus. Go face with some big spell or something like that.
Are you saying
I'm
not?
saying not.
Fuck, your card assessment skills are pretty good. This card is terrible.
Okay.
Well, it's probably fine and limited, but it sees no constructed play. And it's just... This is one of my biggest red herrings, because there'll be people watching this who play Magic regularly who do not know what this card is, because it's so shit no one's ever played it. so far, you are nailing it. Oh, Charging Badger. How about this?
I mean, this has to be hot. Look at it. It's a Charging Badger. Trample on a 1/1 is funny. I mean, the thing is, you can always buff him up. He is a 1-mana card. If you stuck a few +1s on this lad, he is Creature Badger. I wonder if there's a spell that buffs other badgers. I'd love it if there was like a king or queen badger who gave all your badgers +2.
Maybe there's a badger deck in one of the older formats. As an aside, by the way, if I get progressively more red and sweaty through this video, it's not because Pyrion is his skills are making me hot. England's in another heat wave, and I've turned my fan off to make this production actually.
Me too.
Oh my god, I'm so fucking
dying.
sweaty. It's unreal.
I just had a shower because I'm a lazy bastard, and now I'm sweating. And I think Mrs. F's gonna come home and be like, "Did you have a shower today?" I was like, "Yeah, I know I did. I had to do some Magic the Gathering with my mate Vince, and it's made me all sweaty." So yeah,
and all the badgers just made me really hot and sweaty. Is Charging Badger good?
I like cheap 1/1s because I think anything that you can get on the board is good. Trample I don't like on a 1/1, but obviously you're not getting him for that. You're getting him to get a lad out there that you could put some spells on. Maybe there's... I guess he counts as a... Does he count as a beast or something? I don't know if there's a card that affects other beasts. I'm going to say personally...
He's not a beast.
I'm going to say personally not, because it relies on other cards to buff him up, but...
You are correct.
Okay.
That's interesting though. There are other 1-drops in the game. I wish I put one in this thing now, where they have like hexproof, where you can't kill them, you can't target them with spells.
Right.
There are decks in the game like auras and boggles where you shoot those up with loads of enchantments and hit people. Badger, on the other hand, has no protection inherently, so it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's designed to do, and he's not a terrible card unlimited if you have equipment and stuff. But on the whole, he's a bit shit.
Yeah.
He's above average. Like, normally it's like 1 mana for 1 power and toughness. So 1 mana 1/1 is like your vanilla. You want better than that. He's got trample.
Yeah, that's not the best topper, is it? No.
It's also a bad topper for. It's a bad little extra bit of source for a 1/1.
Yeah.
If it was flying, this card would be pretty.
Yeah, if he had
pretty
something, yeah. But you are flying badgers, Vince. I don't know what world you're living in, mate. They do trample. They don't fly.
We get them down. We get them down here in Hampshire.
Yeah,
South of England.
yeah, I know.
On the topic of 1 mana creatures, here's a 1 mana 2/1 who's a monkey pirate.
Okay, Ragavan the Nimble Pilferer. He is a bespectacled monkey pirate. I love this lad. Whenever Ragavan, Nimble Pilferer, deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and exile the top card of that player's library. Until the end of turn, you may cast that card. Dash.
And it has
1.
dash.
You may cast this spell for its dash cost. If you do, it gains haste and is returned from the battlefield to its owner's hand. This is banned, I'm saying. This is so good it's banned. Has to
You've
be.
nailed it. That's crazy. Yeah, it's banned in Legacy. It's currently legal in Modern, but it is also in like 40% of decks, and there's a possibility it gets banned down the line. They're also about $80 each.
This thing is insane.
When do you think this was printed? Here's a bonus question for you. When do you reckon this got made?
2021, it says at the bottom of the card there, or is it?
Oh, you bastard! Yeah, it's literally a year ago. Oh, I should have hidden that. Yeah, this is power creep, Flax. This is like literally the most insane thing. How we can go from 1/1s that look like this to 1 monkeys that look like this? It's just. Oh, I meant to show you this before the monkey. Bollocks.
It's alright.
Okay, Savannah Lions.
Savannah Lions, a 1 mana card.
0
The
text.
traditional kings of the jungle command a healthy research. So this is a 2/1 for 1 mana.
Yes.
That's got to be good. I think that's good. Again, it's
Yes.
like that's great.
So once upon a time, this was what white did. It had 1 mana 2/1s,
Right.
and no one else did. And then over time, red now has a 1 mana 2/1s with like 1,000 lines of text. At one point, this was a rare.
Oh,
this
wow.
was a rare at one point.
The artwork is not great on that.
No, the more modern versions look nicer. I'm not gonna shit on Daniel Gellen's stay. He draws a better line than I could.
Well, jeez. Well, I'm not so sure.
Wait.
You know what it looks like? It looks like he's done the outline in pencil, gone over it in pen, and hasn't rubbed out the pencil. That's what it looks like.
Could you draw a better line than this?
No, but I'm not a professional illustrator. Daniel Gillen is not immune to criticism just because he's better than me.
I'm gonna move on before we get cancelled for upsetting Daniel Gellen.
I apologise, but I think it could have been better artwork for a line. This I like because of the style. This reminds me of early Warhammer stuff. Channel 2 green mana. Until end of turn, you may add colourless mana to your mana pool at a cost of 1 life per point of mana. Wow, these additions are played with the speed of an interrupt. Effects that prevent or redirect damage may not be used to counter this loss of life. Okay.
So in essence, it reads, if we go into like the modern day and not an ancient card with silly text on it, 2 green mana, sorcery speed, and then until the end of turn, you can pay a life to create a colourless mana.
As many times as you like.
Well, as much life as you've got. You can't pay life that you haven't got. So if you're on 20 life, it's 19.
Right.
Well, you can pay for 20, but you immediately die, obviously.
Yeah.
There's no limit to it.
This looks busted as anything. I'm going to say banned.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Banned in so many formats. It's one of the earliest combos. You did this, you get 3 mana, green, green, red, and then you cast this and Fireball. Fireball's an X spell. Pay 19 mana into it, or 19 life, and shoot your opponent for 19 damage. It's one of the earliest combos in all of Magic.
And then hope they don't have a 1 mana damage spell in there.
Yeah. If they then lightning bolt you in response, you die.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a gamble, but I like it.
You have got all of them. Maybe I haven't made this hard enough. Uncle Istvan. This is a summon Uncle Istvan. 4 mana 1/3. All damage done to Uncle Istvan by creatures is reduced to 0.
I mean, this is the ultimate blocker. In that you stick him down and he can block any creature no matter how hefty, as long as they don't have trample. Oh wait, hold on a sec. If they trample him and do 0 damage, does that stop trample damage going through?
Jesus Christ, you're asking me quite a complicated judge question. I believe a trampling attacker. So what normally happens is you have to declare enough damage to be lethal. So you declare 3 points and the rest can roll over. Those 3 points would be prevented and you wouldn't die, but you'd still trample over. That's how I believe it works. It's the same for creatures with protection. If a protect you from black creature blocks a trampling black creature, it only blocks as much toughness as it has.
Okay.
But it's still quite a good blocker because it can't die to anything.
Yeah.
Its creature type up until 5 years ago was Uncle Istvan still. It was the only uncle in the entirety of Magic. They've recently allowed it to be a human.
I do love Uncle Istvan. 4 mana for a 1/3 is quite expensive. If he had hexproof, I'd be impressed because then he could basically never die.
Keep in mind he was printed in 1994.
Yeah.
So we're talking like the second or third year of Magic's lifetime. This thing was being played.
Wow. I would say he was probably hot.
This is a bad one from me. I'm not sure how good he was at his time. I think he's a knot though.
Okay.
No one talks about Uncle Istvan except for the fact that he's got a funny name.
Well, he's weird old Uncle Istvan. I mean, look at him. He lives in the woods. That's why no one talks about him.
We're going to make it the editor's life a real hot... Sorry, Trigger. This is a half point for you. Because he might have actually been okay in Standard. If people watching this played him in 1994...
Let us know.
Well, how was your back, first of all? And secondly, let us know if he was good for you back in 1994. Aether Vial. What do you make of this Magic card? 1 mana artifact?
At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a charge counter on Aether Vial. You may put a creature card with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Aether Vial from your hand into play. Wow.
So what do you make of this? What do you think people do with this? If they do anything at all, maybe it's a red herring, who knows?
I mean, that does mean that you could essentially, turn 3 or turn 4, you're putting out 2 3 or 4 costs. Oh, you know what else? I wonder if you could also do this. You wouldn't need to run as many lands if you could just keep doing this every turn. You could just have, like, creature spam them. At the beginning
your card assessment is really good.
Oh.
Have you done any prep for this?
No.
I
play a lot of games, you know.
Yeah, like that. Because I don't want to blow smoke up your ass here, but like from a theory perspective, you immediately caught that it's mana efficiency, right? You can cast a creature for 4 mana on turn 4, and you can activate this for a 3 mana creature on turn 4, and you're now making double creatures. So like. You'll obviously need to find a way to draw cards, but your tempo is up.
Yeah.
And you spotted that from like a game theory perspective, even if you didn't know the terminology that Magic issues. Genuinely impressed.
Oh, thank you, Vince. I'm gonna say banned is how I'm gonna say it because I think this is too big on the curve. But maybe it's just hot.
It's just hot.
Okay.
It's just hot. So you did get one wrong. Interestingly, when I first saw this as a young lad, I thought what you'd do is get 14 counters onto it, tap it, and put 14 CMC creatures into play, which is an absurd way to play it because you have to wait 14 turns to do it.
Right.
So when I first saw it and assessed it as a kid, I got it very wrong. But this is one of my favourite cards. I play this card in loads of decks and I love it, and it's incredible. So you were close.
Might be getting this one. Might be getting this one.
Well, not on Arena, you're not, because half the shit's not on there. Here's an Arena All-Star at one point or another. Have you seen this before?
Questing Beast. I have seen Questing Beast.
Do you even want to read it out loud? It might make the video a bit...
I'm happy to. Questing Beast. It's a 4 mana cost legendary creature beast. Vigilance, Death Touch, and Haste, which is very pog. Questing Beast can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Combat damage that would be dealt by creatures you control can't be prevented. Now, I'm confused by that.
You haven't finished finish the card.
Whenever Questing Beast deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target planeswalker that player controls. Very, very strong.
Just insane amount of text on this card.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you had seen it before, because it's always one that when people see it, they're like, what the fuck?
I think I've got this in my list of cards somewhere. I don't think I've run it myself, because I do have a green deck, but it's a werewolf deck. Because I thought they were kind of funny, and I liked werewolves. I don't know if this takes you back, Vince, when we played 3 years ago, and I ran a Pirates deck and a Dinosaurs deck, and we lost in like the first round of that Magic tournament. It's because I love gimmicky cards.
We didn't, for the record, I think we won a round.
We won one match.
We absolutely dinosaured RX Gaming out of the tournament because we did a combo and put like 40 power into play. It was amazing. And then we got smashed by people. Alton Birchett, I think, was who knocked us out, right? So
I think we just got smashed.
What was the rule thing you didn't get with Questing Beast? The prevented damage.
It says combat damage that would be dealt by creatures you control can't be prevented. So how would that damage be prevented?
So there's a load of spells in the game that say prevent some damage. They're very rare though, in all fairness. Fog is the most famous one. 1 mana, prevent all combat damage this turn. So it stops you getting fog.
I've never seen that.
Yeah. There are decks built around turbo fogging you every turn.
Is that an instant or a sorcery?
Instant. So you swing all your creatures, and they fog you, and you don't take any damage.
Jeez.
But the other really interesting thing is protection. So, for example, Uncle Istvan earlier, he would block this and die because his damage cannot be prevented. And you can have protection from green, and you just block the. I've seen it. There's a card that has protection from target player in Legacy called True Name Nemesis. Put it on screen now, Trigger. You name your opponent, they can't do anything to it. Questioning Beast attacks, they block with it because normally it can block anything because it can't be damaged. Questioning Beast just kills it. It's really very complicated rules interactions.
Yeah.
Questioning Beast can get through even protection from green creatures. It's kind of wild.
Vigilance, Death Touch, and Haste. I've got to say, this is hot. This is a hot.
It is
card.
very hot. Not quite banned. I say that. Was it temporary? I don't think it was banned in standard. But yeah, very hot. Bordering on the banned area. Because this set, Throne of Eldraine, was insane. It had so many ridiculous cards in it.
I'm beating myself up about getting the Ether Vial wrong. It's obviously not. It obviously shouldn't be banned because it's a, you can zap. I've got lots of cards that kill artifacts and enchantments and shit like that. So it's not. I mean, it's nice. But
again, you've nailed another bit of Magic theory that if a card is an artifact, it's other than creature, it's the most vulnerable card type in the game because there's more ways to kill it.
Lots of cards do that. Loads of bloody. I've got a creature.
God, a couple of years, Pyrion, you've been winning the Pro Tour at this rate. Jesus Christ.
No, I'll just be just as dog shit. And this time I'll be angry when I lose. At the moment I lose, I'm like, no, nuts. Well, back to the drawing board. But give it time.
There's literally, like I said, I saw a clip of you. I was watching one of your streams. It's like there's nothing we could do, and I was like, there were so many things you could have done.
Yeah.
But in some ways, it's good not to beat yourself up.
Right.
This next card, Oco Thief of Crowns. This is Magic's premier twink.
Yeah.
3 mana, Planeswalker. Comes in with a 4 loyalty. It ticks up 2 loyalty to create a food token, which is an artifact you can sack for 2 mana and gain 3 life. Tick up 1 loyalty, turn any creature on the board into a 3/3 elk, and it loses all abilities.
Wow.
So a Questing Beast, for example, just loses all its text.
Bam.
Or -5, exchange control of target artifact or creature you control with target creature and opponent controls with power 3 or less.
What does a food token do? 3 life, but for 2 mana. That's still pretty bloody good. I mean, you can get his -5 off on the second turn, which is pretty good.
Yes.
I play Obnixilis or whatever his name is. You got to wait some.
Which one?
The one where you make him and you sacrifice a creature.
Oh,
the one with casualty.
The Mafia one.
Yeah, and then
Marlon Brando.
And then you say to him, discard your card or lose 2 life. And I love him. Quite a lot of the games in my level, the moment you play Obnix, they GG out. I'm not even kidding. People just quit. They cannot handle the power of the Ob.
Okay, though. Okay, first question, before we go to the actual question. Is it better or worse than the Obnixilus you're currently playing?
I mean, his +1 is insane. They can build up some mega unit, and you can just turn up and zap it with a 3 mana cost card. That alone, I think, is bonkers good. Being able to nick you can nick a target artifact would be pretty huge as well. I've got to say this is good. I'm going to say hot.
Hot. This is banned. This is one of the most banned cards in the history of Magic. It's been banned in more formats than most cards have.
Okay.
It is fucking insane. Like, it ruined Magic for a while. Like, Oko was everywhere.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm glad I missed that time.
Yeah, but people, interestingly, you mentioned Obnixilis and the mob one. Recently, people were like, we think Obnixilis might be the next Oko. And it turned out it was good, but not this good.
Yeah.
So that's why I was interested when you mentioned that. I was like, Yeah, Oko was redonkulous to the point now that he's a villain in the story, but his villainy is now like metatextual. People are scared of what the next Oko will do.
Right.
It's kind of cool. Rage Form. 4 mana. When it enters the battlefield, becomes an aura with enchant creature. You manifest the top card of your library and attach Rage Form to it. A manifested card is when you put the card face down onto the battlefield, it becomes a 2/2 creature, and you can turn it face up if it's a creature for its mana cost at any time. And then that creature, to add to all that, gets double strike.
Which means you don't. I mean, unless you scried that, it could just be bloody anything.
Exactly. But you are allowed to look at it once it's manifested. You can look at it.
Okay. To manifest a card, put it onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2. So if it dies as a 2/2, you discard it, right? Because it's become
it just goes to the graveyard. Yeah.
Turn it face up any time for its mana cost if it's a creature card. So if it's not a creature card, you've just essentially exiled one of your cards under a 2/2 creature.
Yes.
Enchanted creature has double strike. So the 2/2 doesn't have double strike.
Quite a complicated card again.
Yeah, gosh, I'm not.
It's not quite as complicated as Oko, to be fair, but
This is a tricky one. I honestly have no idea. This one is too complicated for me. I can see the risk in putting an expensive card in there as a 2/2 and losing it, You have to pay its mana cost anyway. I can't call this one. I'm going to say not.
Yes, you're right.
Okay.
You're right. This is reasonable in limited. If you're drafting, 4 mana for a 2/2 with double strike isn't the worst thing in the world. But in constructed, because that's the floor, right? The floor of this card is 4 mana, make a 2/2 with double strike, and then from the floor we can go up saying, oh, it might be a 5/5 underneath that I can flip next turn. But yeah, it's complicated and weird, but it's not exciting.
I just feel like it would be good if it just said enchanted creature has double strike, and you just went boop and put it on.
Well,
there.
that exists, like
Right.
not double cleave, but there are 2 mana always that do that. But this thing, what you got to remember as well, if you've got an enchantment for 2 mana that gives something double strike, you still need something to put it on. Rage Form doesn't ask you the question of do you have a body ready. So if you are behind and you need to find a blocker or a creature,
Right.
Rage Form just makes that creature for you. It's card advantage in a way. And one thing that's interesting that you said is that, oh, maybe you hit one of your big cards and you've lost it or whatever. There's a theory in Magic that you have to just not think that way.
Okay.
Because it could be anything. It could be one of your lands or it could be one of your big spells. There's just no way of knowing.
Okay.
Same with, because mill. Have you met mill yet as a
yeah.
mechanic?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, people get really angry that they mill the best cards. Like, in all fairness, you just got to roll with it.
Yeah.
Because some of your best cards might be left over.
Zerda the Dawnwaker.
Do you like foxes?
I do. I do and I don't. But I live in Twickenham. There's a lot of foxes around here, Vince. A lot. And pretty much every night they're out in the street fucking and fighting, and it's a disaster. They make a
You
terrible...
could say they're dawn waking.
They
you might
are
say.
Dawn Waking and all the rest of it, I tell you. Companion. Each permanent card in your starting deck has an activated ability. If this card is your chosen companion, you may cast it once from outside the game. I'll have to come back to that. Abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the mana in that cost to less than 1 mana. 1 tap, target creature can't block this turn. This thing looks insane. You may cast it once from outside the game, so I don't even need to have it in my deck, and I just say I'm going to cast Zerda the Dawnwaker for 3 mana, bang.
How Companion used to work, there's a clue there. How it used to work was that you put it in your sideboard, and then you can cast it from your sideboard at any point in the game if your original deck you declare a companion at the beginning of the game. So you can only declare Zerda if your starting deck has each permanent card has an activated ability, which is quite a difficult thing to achieve. Most of the things you've seen so far, Uncle Istaban, Questing Beast, all of those could not be in your deck, for example.
So I could only run this if all my other cards had an activated ability, like tap this creature, pay 2 mana, sacrifice. I've got a lad in my werewolves deck. You tap him, sacrifice him, and he destroys an enchantment or artifact. That's his whole
That
thing.
would be allowed, yeah.
So,
an Oko would be allowed, an Eighth of Isle would be allowed, but Rage Form wouldn't, and Uncle Istaban and Channel
and
wouldn't.
Summon Lions wouldn't even. So yeah, that's a tricky one.
But you could play Ragavan alongside this.
Abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities, in other words, ones that give you mana, cost 2 less to activate, which essentially means that for a lot of the time, oh man, this looks.
So the second line about not reducing it is basically, if you think about it, it's for its own thing. Its own ability of target creature can't block this turn is always going to cost 1. It doesn't.
But that's
reduce its
insane. Target creature can't block this turn. That's crazy in itself. I'm going to have to say this is banned. I think that the bottom ability alone is scary enough. But
so interestingly, the bottom ability is not relevant ever.
Oh wow, okay.
That's an interesting one. But yeah, when Companion worked the way it did, this got banned in Legacy because there were decks where you'd make infinite mana. There's a mana rock, I think it's Basalt Monolith or Grim, someone can correct me in the comments, where you tap it to make 3, but you have to pay 3 to untap it later on, which is a downside, right? Because the idea is that you get mana now, but this means you make 3, untap for 1, make 3, untap for 1.
Oh my god.
So this made infinite mana, and all it required was for you to draw the Basalt Monolith and have this in your sideboard. What happened, Pyrion, was Companion was so good, and there's 10 of these, right? And like 6 of them were broken. 1 of them was more broken than Oko, the most broken card ever printed. It was so broken they've inverted Companion now. So Companion now says, on all Companion cards, you have to pay 3 mana to put it into your hand, and then you cast it from hand. So every Companion now essentially costs an extra 3 mana, and that didn't even stop the cards being good.
Right.
It just stopped them being broken. This card was banned and is still banned in Legacy. They haven't unbanned it even in spite of the
So wait, the bottom bit there, target creature can't block, that's not a factor at all. People don't care about that.
Well, it probably comes up on rare occasion, but ultimately you're normally making infinite mana and just killing them with some sort of combo.
Right, because that's nuts. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it is a good and relevant ability. So I think I'm downplaying it a bit. It's a good and relevant ability, but it absolutely pales in comparison to the
game
free
break.
card inside board that breaks. Yeah, exactly.
That's
exactly.
so crazy. All right, well, Treasure Cruise.
Treasure Cruise.
Look at this sorcery.
Do you like cruises? Period.
I went on a cruise once a few years ago. It was terrible. I hated it. It was on one of those mega boats.
Hopefully this is better.
Yeah, Delve.
It is 8 mana.
Oh, I just noticed that. Good God. Each card you exile while casting this spell pays for 1.
From your graveyard. Each card you exile from your graveyard.
Countless delights drift on the surface while dark schemes run below, and you draw 3 cards.
So you can reduce the cost of this card by 1 for each
Exiling
card in your
cards.
graveyard you exile. Yeah.
Delve. I mean, being able to draw 3 cards is great. I mean, that in itself, I'm trying to think of anything where you can just draw 3 cards.
Yeah, drawing 3 cards. Drawing 3 cards is actually kind of iconic in Magic. I'm not trying to lure you here, because there are some cards that draw 3 cards that are terrible. But, like, one of the best spells in all of Magic is 1 blue mana, draw 3 cards. It's called Ancestral Recall.
Right.
It's literally, like, one of the most powerful spells ever printed. So drawing 3 cards, almost... The words, draw 3 cards, kind of has a mystique to it.
Yeah.
So whenever you see it, you have to stop and be like, is this a good one or a bad one?
All right, so here's my question is, I'm sure there's some combo to do with exiling cards. I'm sure I've come across something that when you exile something, like there's something like exile cards from your graveyard this turn you may play them or something like that. Maybe there's some mechanic where you can play exiled cards. I don't know. I guess, could you just have a massive deck and not care? I bumped into a lad with a deck of 240 cards the other day.
Yeah, I saw you tweeting about it. I was like, is that Battlewids?
It was unbelievable.
So bear in mind, it's not to do with your library size. It's just
your
what's in your graveyard.
I mean, so that would mean you'd have to wait quite a while for this to be worth it. I mean, you'd have to have a bunch of cards in your graveyard to make this worth it. I mean, would paying 4 mana to draw 3 cards even then is probably pretty good. I do sometimes run into a problem where I get stuck. I don't know. The cost is so big, I can't decide. I'm going to say not.
This card was banned.
Oh, wow!
In many formats. Yeah. But it's a fascinating hearing you go through it, because this happened on Reddit in real time. This was revealed before the set came out. Everyone was like, oh. Now, what was happening was people on turn 3 were exiling 7 cards, paying 1 blue mana and drawing 3. And then what happens is, by the very nature of this, it goes to the bin, and then you draw 3 cards that you're going to cast as well, and then they go to the bin. So the first cruise fuels the second cruise.
Right.
So you're just drawing 3 cards all over the fucking shop. And your opponent's over there playing white, being like, I haven't drawn a card since like 1992.
Right.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
Cruise was banned in multiple formats.
Okay, I missed that one. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
one of the most powerful. And like I said, blue draw 3, best card, one of the best cards ever printed. Cruise is often just blue draw 3, so it's like a poor man's version of that card. This is vintage. We can play every card in history. Nothing's ever really banned.
That seems insane.
This is restricted to 1 of.
Oh,
you can only play
wow.
1 of
Okay.
it. Yeah. Healing Salve. Here we go.
One mana cost, instant, gain 3 life or prevent up to 3 damage from being dealt to a single target.
There's some damage prevention. We talked about it earlier.
I mean, this is
a real education for you around Magic.
This seems good. I'm going to say good straight off the bat. I love this.
Terrible.
Oh.
Like, regardless of one of the... So in the original Magic set, there was a 1 mana spell for each colour, right? Green got 1 green +3/+3.
Right.
Giant Growth still exists. White got gain 3 life, which is just shit. The worst of the boon cycle, categorically often pointed to show how bad white has been historically.
But you do get... I've got a white deck, and every time you gain life, you get +1 on all of your lads. And there's another one that says if you've gained... if you've got 7 or more from your starting life total, all your creatures get extra and you have flying and stuff like that. I think this should be alright in a certain deck.
So life gain has got more payoffs now than it used to. Like you're saying, creatures that grow from it, creatures that have buffs when they're growing.
Yeah.
It's a way that they expanded white's like part of the game. I still think if this is printed into standard today, no one would play it.
Okay.
Because it doesn't have enough utility. The weird thing you can do by preventing 3 damage is you can block a 4... your 4/4 can block their 4/4 and you prevent 3 damage and your guy survives
yeah,
and
that's
dies.
good. I like this.
That's actually the better mode.
I'm a defender of Healing Salve. I'm a fan. Okay, put me down.
So you're like, reprint Healing Salve, you cowards.
I'll get a Healing Salve t-shirt right now. Oh, I've bumped into this bastard. I play. I know Colossal Dreadmore.
You and him go way back, do you?
No, a friend of mine was talking about this lad. If I remember rightly, this card absolutely stinks.
It is pretty shit. It's not terrible. 6 mana, 6/6 with trample is it's vanilla. It passes the vanilla, so it's limited. If you're drafting, you'd play it, but not constructed. Though this is a meme that it's been in like 8 sets in the last 2 years, and like Reddit love it. Like every set they're fake spoiling it for the next one. It's like a bit of a meme now. But you nailed it. It's bad.
Urza, Lord High Artificer. 4 mana cost, 1/4. Legendary creature and human artificer, which is not a thing I've seen yet. When Urza Lord, which gives me a clue. When Urza Lord High Artificer enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token. Good God. This creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control, and he's an artifact, so he gets +1/+1.
So it's inherently a 1/1. Yep.
Tap an untapped artifact you control, add 1 blue mana. That's good. 5. Shuffle your library, then exile the top card. Until end of turn, you may play that card without paying its mana cost. That's a gamble right there, but that could be fun.
Sometimes you pay 5 mana and hit a land, and you're like, bollocks. But also, if you didn't play the land for turn, you can play the land, so it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, complicated card.
It is.
A lot of text.
I mean, this sentence alone, create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token. That sentence only exists in this game. There's no other game where people would read that and go, yes, without going, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
weirdly, that bit of text appeared on like a Planeswalker like maybe 3 years ago, and now it's appeared like 6 more times since. Like there's a theme with Urza and Khan cards now that they make those exact constructs.
Okay.
So it's such a weird, like you said, bespoke sentence,
It is.
and now it's like commonly part of Magic vernacular.
I mean, it's just funny. Tap an untapped artifact you control, add blue mana. I could imagine that on its own, obviously, this is not some thing where you're going to be super excited, but you're building a deck around a card like this if it's got that many features. I mean, the mana rush that you could get is pretty crazy. You have loads of little artifact cards flying around, Ornithopters and all the rest of it. I'm going to say this is hot.
Correct. This card is very, very good. Some people were calling for it to be banned at one point in some order formats like Modern, but it ended up being just pretty good. Also, some people hating Commander as well, because you just get, like you said, you make a lot of mana. The mana bit is probably the best bit about it, but even like 4 mana make a 1/4 and a 1/1 that can then be tapped for mana immediately, because it's not summoning, well, it is summoning sick, but this doesn't care about being summoning sick. You can tap for the mana immediately. Yeah, Urza was very good. Almost bannable at one point. He's also like the main character of the old story, so there's a lot of
lore around this lad.
Mox Tantalite.
That sounds like a name. Hi, Mox Tantalite.
Like a detective or an old grizzled veteran.
Mox Tantalite. Get me Mox Tantalite. Artifact. Suspend. That's a mechanic I've not heard before. Suspend 3-0. Rather than cast this card from your hand, pay 0 and exile it with 3 time counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter. When the last is removed, cast it without paying its mana cost. Add 1 mana of any colour.
And it hasn't got a mana cost. You cannot cast this. You have to suspend it.
So I start my game of Magic. I get my 7 cards. Mox Tantalite is among them. I look at it and I think, well, all right, I can play that, obviously, and my land and another card. And then in 3 turns' time, I basically have another land. So it's almost like a little investment, like an ISA for mana. You put it to one side and then it pays off, and then you can just tap and get mana of any color. I think I'm going to say this is good. I'm going to say hot.
It's fucking terrible. You are right. The whole like suspend it for later value is a thing. There's a blue one which is suspend 3, 1 blue, draw 3. So you have to wait 3 turns for your 3 cards. That card has seen tons of play.
Right.
This. Almost 0.
Okay.
But because it's a mythic and because it's so weird, people are specking on it. People are like, I'm going to buy all of them from every shop, and one day I'll get broken by a combo. Okay. That day has not come yet. Barbed Foliage, 4 mana, enchantment.
I'll tell you what, this lad and his horse aren't having a fun day.
It's about, this looks like my garden, honestly.
Yeah.
Whenever a creature attacks you, it loses flanking until end of turn.
What's flanking?
Whenever a creature with flying attacks you, Barbed Foliage deals 1 damage to it. What do you think flanking is?
Loses flanking. Whenever a creature attacks you, it loses flanking. Does flanking mean it can just go around blockers?
No. So flanking is a keyword that when it's on a card... Oh god, I'm probably going to get this slightly wrong. When you attack with it, if something blocks a creature with flanking, it gets -1/-1 to end of turn. I am now going to check that to make sure I have not lied to you.
I'll look away.
Oh, so I missed a bit of text. If the creature has flanking, it doesn't get the -1/-1.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this would be a solution to Scoot Swarm and shit like that.
And the Monkey Pirate that we've seen. The broken, busted Monkey
Deals
Pirate.
1 damage. It's like Blade Mail in Dota. I'm going to say this is banned. That's just my feeling. Banned. I would ban it.
It's just a random card off the. I clicked random card and it came up. This one has the least amount of history or things I can teach you. It's a random piece of shit that I'd not seen until today myself. The second line of text, you are right, is interesting, right? Like if their army, all their units or their cards, I'm using wrong terms now, are all X1s, they all just die to this thing. And it also means that like a 2/2 can block a 3/3 and kill it after it's attacked. So the second line of text is good, but a 3-mana enchantment that turns off flanking.
It's a 4-mana enchantment, actually.
Sorry, 4-mana enchantment. My bad. It's worse than I thought.
I'm just saying.
Have you seen?
That would be a good solution to Scoot Swarm, which I'm struggling with.
Yes, but I'm sure there's got to be better ones than fucking
there are.
Barbed foliage.
I've got Cataclysm or something, Syndicalism, I think. But you only get
Pyroclasm.
Yeah, you only get a couple of those where you blast all of them, and then.
I love the way like you're gonna get a T-shirt made which says like Wizards of the Coast, please reprint Barbed Foliage and Healing Salve. Fucking hell! Have you seen this before?
Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn, 15 mana cost. Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn can't be countered. No shit. When you cast it, take an extra turn. Flying, protection from colored spells, Annihilator 6. Annihilator 6, I think I've heard about this in a video. Annihilator 6. Doesn't this mean that everything that costs less than 6 mana gets deleted or something like that?
No, when it attacks you, there's a trigger, and when you resolve that trigger, you have to sacrifice annihilate a number of permanents. So when Emrakul attacks you, you must sacrifice 6 permanents.
Right.
Also, Emrakul can't go to the graveyard.
I know what I did. I watched another YouTuber, I'm sorry Vince, another Magic YouTuber. Someone played this in a game, a pro game, and their win con was Emrakul, and the other guys was something else. They were 2 cheaters playing against each other, if I remember rightly. And they both shuffle cheated. They were both shuffle cheaters.
I did do a video on shuffle cheating recently, but maybe you saw the Nikachu ones.
I think it was one of the Nikachu ones. And these guys will shuffle, and when they see the bottom card is cack, they'll put it on top and then fake shuffle beneath it.
That's it.
Right.
If anyone wants to know exactly how that works, there'll be a link in the description below to my shuffle cheating video.
There you go.
What do you think of Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn?
I'm going to say banned.
Yes, it was banned in Commander. It has stayed legal in like Modern and Legacy and stuff, but there's arguments that it's been too good at some points. Yeah, this card is obviously pretty nuts, but you never pay 15 mana for it.
No,
You only pay like
some
5 mana to put it in with haste or something like that. Or in one of my videos that you should go and watch, everybody, you get a Didgeridoo, which says it's a 1 mana artifact that says 3 mana activate, put a Minotaur into play, and then you cast another spell that makes all your spells Minotaurs. And you toot your horn, out comes an Emrakul, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, they ain't got any lands left.
Ridiculous. Shichi-Fukujin Dragon comes into play. So it's a 9 mana cost dragon. Put 7 +1/+1 counters on it. Spend 3 mana, sacrifice 2 +1/+1 counters. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on Shichi Dragon at end of turn. I mean, Jesus, the build-up on this thing is agonizing. It has no protection
bear in
whatsoever.
mind, 9 mana means you can probably activate that 3 times the following turn. So it comes in as a 7/7,
right.
You remove 6 counters, and it's going to get 9 more counters at the end of the turn. It becomes a 10/10 the following turn. Not trying to lure you, I'm just pointing out that the mana numbers...
So it starts with 7, so it's a 7/7. Then you sacrifice 2 for 3, so it gets 8, then 9, then 10. So it's a 10/10 for...
If you dump all your mana back in,
yeah,
in the following turn.
I think this is dog shit.
You are correct. It is terrible. However, do you want to take a guess at how valuable this is?
Oh, it's probably worth like 50 grand or something like that.
We just do not know because only one exists.
It's
currently inside a frame in Japan, and we have no idea what it'd sell for if it went to market.
It's surely got to be one of the most valuable. There's only one of it.
I would assume this would sell for tens of thousands if it ever went to market, but it's currently owned by like an esports organisation that's associated with Wizards. It's a celebratory thing.
Oh,
but an interesting part of Magic's history.
I like that.
There's only a handful of these sort of things exist. But the card is fucking bad, and I kind of love that as well. I love that it's like a uniquely expensive card is just terrible. Autothon Worm.
15 mana cost card. Convoke. Each creature you tap while playing this spell, convoke. What does that mean, Vince? Tell me about this convoke mechanic.
You just tap creature that costs less. Simple as that. So remember Delve earlier where you exile things from your graveyard? Instead of exiling things from your graveyard, you instead tap creatures. So if you have like 10 1/1s in play, you tap them all.
I'm thinking Scoot Swarm, Vince. I'm thinking Scoot Swarm right now.
I do love me a Scoot Swarm. Here's a Scoot Swarm anecdote, because you know what this is. I was at an event recently, playing it in paper, not on Arena. I put 5 lands into play at once. I already had 92 Scoot Swarms. And I asked the guy for a pen so I could write on a bit of paper, and the guy was like, just remember it. And I was like, no, you can't remember Scoot Swarm numbers. It's like hypothermic. It's insane. Anyway, Autotron Worm.
Each creature you tap while playing this spell reduces its cost by 1. So
It's a 9/14. It's a 9/14.
with Trample, I mean, this is your finisher around a deck that jumps out 1/1s very cheaply, like Scoot Swarm. I'm going to say this is good. I'm going to say hot.
So this was bad.
Bad? How?
As in, I do believe it saw 0 play as a body or a creature. It does see play, though. There's a card that allows you to cast it, you exile a green spell from your hand, and you gain life equal to its CMC. So for 2 cards, you gain 15 life.
Bam.
And then you have another card that says pay 7 life, draw 7 cards. So this is actually part of a combo where you're pitching.
I'm not saying on his own Autochthon Worm is hot. I'm saying I know how these people work. I know what's in their minds, the magic people. And I mean, if I didn't notice that, how can you know like this is God? No, I've wouldn't. So I went for good, even though I have no idea.
You know what, Ed? I will give him the point because it sees competitive play, but not for the reasons you were saying, like a finisher. It gets discarded from hand to facilitate a combo that makes no sense.
Well, I don't think you should give me that point, but I suppose.
Okay, take the point back off then. Trigger, more editing. Take the point off.
Get rid of it. Oh my God!
Have you seen this yet?
I have heard of this card. Destroy all lands. This includes your lands.
I love the reminder text. Just in case you weren't aware, it's your lands as well.
I'm going to say straight up, this has to be banned. I mean, this is banned.
So interestingly, I'm going to give you a point. Right, it's never been banned. However, people in social games, 4-player commander games, this is so frowned upon to be cast. If you play at a table with 3 other people, and you blow up everyone's lands, which I've been known to do. It's kind of my thing. I enjoy it. People get very fucking annoyed.
I'm just saying, if you had that little thing that gives you mana when you tap it, you'd be way ahead. You'd be popping units out, no problem. Nobody else has got mana.
So your deck is currently Barbed Hedge or whatever it was.
Barbed Hedge, Healing Salve,
Nox
Tantalite, and Armageddon.
Yeah. I think you're gonna take the next Legacy GP by storm.
Max Opal. There's another hard bit in the tip. Max Opal.
He's the detective sidekick.
Mox Opal. Yeah. Sorry, not Max. Mox Opal. Okay. It's a 0 mana cost legendary artifact. Metalcraft. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Activate this ability only if you control 3 or more artifacts.
So some history as you're thinking. Moxes have again the prestige. You saw Mox Tantalite already, which was garbage, but there are 5 Mox that are 0 mana that tap for each of the colours of Magic in the original set, and they're like thousands of pounds. The word Mox carries a lot of weight within Magic, but sometimes they print stinkers like Tantalite.
Okay.
Is this a stinker, or is this living up to its heritage?
So you need 3 artifacts. Which means this isn't really good on like turn 1 or 2 or whatever, unless there are artifact lands. I'm not sure. If you had an artifact land, is that a thing?
To answer your question, there are artifact lands.
Okay, so you bosh an artifact land out. You play this. That's 2. The next turn, you put another artifact land out, or a land and play an artifact creature, and suddenly you've got your 3, and then bam, you've got an extra mana of any color. So I think this just helps your acceleration into your curve there. I'm going to say this is good.
Banned.
Oh wow, okay.
It's really interesting. You're like, it can't be good on turn 1. So historically, what happens is you play multiple artifacts that cost 0, and then you just have more mana on turn 1. You mentioned Ornithopter earlier, right? There's Memnites and stuff, or you casting off your land. Also, all the artifact lands have been banned at times as well because they've been too good.
Okay.
Mox Opal is insane. There's been a lot of broken combo decks.
I didn't think about 0 cost artifacts. Other than
you said it earlier though. You had it. It was like it's somewhere in that.
I'm old, Vince. I forget. Mother of Runes. 1 mana. Target creature you control gains protection from a color of your choice until end of turn. That seems pretty good. I mean, if you're up against a mono or a bloody blue deck who just wants to blast all your lads off the board, and you only have to tap her, she is only a 1/1. When can you tap her?
So she's summoning sick immediately. So there is a window where the opponent gets to interact with her. But once she becomes not summoning sick, the following turn, when she's no longer got the swirly bit on arena, for example, she can now tap to give other creatures and herself, because she can target herself, protection from her colour. So once she's not summoning sick, you kind of need 2 spells to kill her.
So this is hexproof to whatever I want.
Essentially, it will blank at least 1 removal spell.
Banned. Banned good.
Which one? Which one?
Banned.
It's just good.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely solid. Sees loads of play in Legacy.
Really
not
good.
banned.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You can get sometimes it's just like you give it protection and you just swing through for the win because they haven't got blockers. Sometimes you blank a removal spell. There's loads of cool stuff you can do with it.
Love it.
We're coming towards the home straight. Bouncing Beebles.
Beebles, look at that. I love this. Summon Beebles. Bouncing Beebles is unblockable if defending player controls an artifact. Okay, so if they have an artifact, your 3 mana cost Beeble 2/2 cannot be blocked. Hot.
I think it was pretty nuts. It's interesting because like this is a lesson in a way that in its own limited format, the whole set was based around artifacts. So this card is a lot better when you're playing in that period of Magic and that draft environment because each of you will have artifacts in play.
Right.
Then you go to the wider Magic, people don't. But also a 3 mana 2/2 that's sometimes unblockable just doesn't cut the muscle.
Yeah. No,
know?
you're right. Now I think Golgari Grave Troll. Look at that. He's a good-looking lad. Creature Troll Skeleton. Golgari Grave Troll enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each creature card in your graveyard. 1 mana, remove a +1. Regenerate Golgari Cave Troll. Generate.
Do you know what Regenerate does? So Regenerate puts a, until end of turn, like a bubble on the creature. If it were to be destroyed, specifically destroyed, you tap it and remove it from combat and it's not destroyed.
Okay.
So it can survive a kill spell or a bad combat by activating the regeneration ability.
And Dredge?
Dredge is, if this is in your graveyard, at any point where you would draw a card, you can choose to put the dredge number from the top of your library into the graveyard.
So you mill 6 cards into the graveyard.
And then put this back into your hand.
So he's very, very hard to kill. And if you've got a bunch of shitty creatures in your graveyard, like a bunch of zombies or something like that, I say this is hot. I'm loving Golgari Cave Troll.
It's actually bad.
Oh, okay.
You're assessing him as a 5 mana fair creature, and he's actually reasonable, right? What the reality is, Dredge is one of the most broken mechanics of all time.
Okay.
And what happens is you go to draw cards, you dredge 6. You were going to draw 3, let's say, or for 3, draw 3. You dredge 6, hit another one of these, dredge 6. You dredge 18 cards into your graveyard. Then there's creatures that when they hit the graveyard, they trigger and come back to life. And then you've got things that where you sack 3 creatures that are in play to reanimate a creature out of the bin. And in Legacy, you can like turn 1 kill people. Dredge is one of the most broken mechanics ever printed.
Oh my
and Golgari Grave Troll has the highest dredge number on it of all cards. That's why it was banned.
It has to be in my graveyard before I can dredge it.
Correct.
So you have to exile this bastard as soon as possible.
Exactly. There are a lot of effects in the game where it's discard a card, draw a card.
Right.
Yeah. So if you discard Grave Troll, you can immediately then dredge 6 and start going off. So you have to have like things that exile Grave Troll, Tormods, Crypts, and Scavenging users. But it's really interesting that Grave Troll has all this text on it that is largely irrelevant because the dredge number is big. What do you think of Urza, Academy Headmaster? At this point, by the way, that's the 7th head of Urza on a Vice.
I mean, the artwork there is amazing. I love that. You need 1 of each mana, and then you have to go to a website, and presumably it gives you a random effect when you go there and click that?
Yes, so the +1, -1, and -6 are all the first, second, and third ability of every Planeswalker that's ever been printed.
You click on that. All right, +1. Add X mana in any combination of colors where X is the number of creatures you control. All right, give me a -6 there, Urza. Exile all cards from target player's library. Then that player shuffles their hand into their library. What?
So you just hit the ultimate of like one of the good Jaces. The point is you can hit any ultimate from throughout. Sometimes you -6 and get like the worst ultimate.
I'll be honest with you. I love the gimmick of this. I think this is so.
Yeah,
funny.
I think it's very cool. It's very cool. It's arguably the most. So it holds the record technically for being the wordiest Magic card ever printed.
Okay.
It's got so much text to it.
That's good.
Do you know what the silver border means? Because it's got a silver border. Look, all the cards you've got have black or white border.
No, I don't
silver
know. What
means?
does that mean?
It's joke sets. They are legal
okay.
in constructed Magic. That gives you a hint as to what this card is
bad
like.
then.
But,
Obviously you can't play.
Well, technically, never been legal.
All right, I'm going to say hot because hilarious.
Yeah, I'd say if you get to play with it, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, but not on Arena. Are you aware of this?
Probably the most famous card in Magic.
I was interested as to whether or not you'd know
Yes.
it. What do you think of this?
Busted as fuck.
Busted as fuck. Correct. This is up there with Oco as one of the most banned cards of all time, and yes, it is the Black Lotus. I'm not going to sit here and explain this card. Have you seen this?
Blightsteel Colossus, 12 mana, trample, infect. Doesn't that mean whenever you hit someone, you put a poison thing on them?
No, that's poison. Infect, it changes combat damage to poison. So if this hits you, you take 11 infect.
Oh my god.
So if it's unblocked, it instantly kills you.
Oh my god.
It's also indestructible.
Wait. So if it hits you for 11 damage, you also then take 11 infect damage.
So infect replaces normal damage with either, if it's a player, poison. If it's a creature, -1/-1 counters. So if this hit a 12/12, it shrink 12/1/1. If it hit a player, they take 11 poison.
And how many poison is it to kill you?
10.
Oh, so you're dead. Okay. If Blightsteel Colossus... right.
If you block it with a 2/2, you only take 9 infect.
Okay. I mean, it does have trample. If Blightsteel Colossus would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal it and shuffle it into its library instead.
So what that line of text does, and we saw it on Emrakul as well, although they're slightly worded differently, but we won't go into those that nuance. It's actually a balancing thing to stop them from being reanimated. It stops you from casting return target creatures to the battlefield on Emrakul or Blightsteel Colossus. Or at least it makes it very difficult to do on Emrakul.
Indestructible. That means nothing can deal with it unless it's like exile card, right? You can exile.
So it can't die to destroy or damage effects. Weirdly, it can die to -1/-1. So if a Blightsteel Colossus and a Blightsteel Colossus met in a Dark Alley out of fisticuffs, they both get -11/-11,
Right.
and they both die to state-based actions.
You could also, there is that thing where you enchant a thing and turn it into a treasure token.
Exactly,
that,
yeah.
so
Or Oko can turn it into a 3/3 elk and it loses all its text.
It's also, you know what? It's also an artifact, and there are quite a few things that like do things to artifacts.
Exile artifacts,
yeah. So he is quite
So
vulnerable.
there are ways to deal with it. It's not indestructible. At one point in Magic's history, was like the shit.
Right.
In modern day, it's good, and it will frustrate you a lot of the time. But there are ways to deal with it.
In terms of its mana cost, I mean, you'd have to have one of those decks that gives you a shitload of mana. Because I've never got as far as 12 mana. There must be some kind of combo.
We need to push those. Those are rookie numbers, buddy. We need to push them up.
Yeah, 12.
12 mana is nothing.
I'm going to say this is banned.
It was never banned, but there was discussions about it at times.
Okay.
It was very good. I think it was good in standard, but there's two ways people do it. One is, again, they pay Sneak Attack as an enchantment, that for 1 mana you can put a creature from your hand into play with haste. It's 4 mana for the enchantment, so 5 mana you've got Blightsteel. Or, like you said, big mana. There are decks in Legacy that have lands that they're called Locust lands. Each one's got a Locust type. The more of them you have, the more mana you make.
Oh, man.
You cast this, and then you give it boots, and you run into someone at haste, and you kill them. So yeah. How do you feel about Wayward Guide Beast? We're going to come full circle. We did our 1-drops at the beginning.
Right. Trample, haste. Whenever he deals combat damage, return a land you control to its owner's hand. Good God.
So a bit like
wait. This is good. I think this
is that your
no,
final
hold on.
answer?
Let me. No, I'm not. Here's the thing.
Show your working.
With red-green decks, I've got one that does this. Every time a land enters play, you get like +2 on this land, there's loads of when you play a land
landfall
effects,
triggers.
Landfall triggers. So this is a way of just getting your land in and out, stacking it up. I'm going to say this is hot. I like this. Good.
It's actual garbage.
Oh. I disagree, Vince, and I'm sure I know best.
But I think it's great. The things you're saying are really interesting again, because when this was revealed, Reddit and Twitter and YouTube, people were like going out there with this stuff because it's in the set where a lot of the landfall shit was. So they're like, oh, it's going to enable landfall.
Right.
It does turn out that putting a land that you've played already back into hand and replaying it puts you behind a bit because you're going to play one land a turn. What you really want to do is get multiple land drops. But yeah, this is a trap. That's what we call a trap. Yeah, you see it during spoiler season. You're like, I'm all in. I'm pre-ordering 10, and then it's like a 10-cent card for the rest of the time.
Oh, that's a shame.
Well, I don't know how you did. I feel like you did well.
No, I think I
feel
did
like you
very
did well.
poorly. I think at best I got. How many cards did we do?
There was 32.
I reckon I got 11.
Okay.
11.
Trigger, put the number on screen. Congratulations, Pyrion, if you did well. Commiserations if you didn't.
Yeah, I think I'd be lucky to get 11. I had a lot of fun though. That was great.
No, thank you for joining me. It is fun. I really enjoy seeing newer players see things like Emrakuls and Blightsteel Colossi and all this weird shit Because Magic is weird, and once you get past the initial learning bit, there's a lot.
So many mechanics and stuff, especially the mechanics that have come and gone. I think that it makes me sad because I think cards I've got attached to, they might just take them out of the game. They'll be like, oh, we're removing that. I'll be like, oh.
Well, when you move beyond Arena, there are older formats that have access to those cards. The problem you've got is we saw a lot of them today. The Ragavans and the Urzas are from what's called Modern Horizons, where they're printing new cards that are so powerful, even in the old formats we can play everything, it's just not worth doing so.
Okay.
Well, let's not get into that because people on my channel have heard me moan about that a lot.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
We'll do some streaming soon. I'll teach you some more. Maybe we do a follow-up.
We can do some more of these if you want. I love this.
This was sick. This was a lot of fun. If you enjoyed this, tell me in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and please subscribe. By the time you've seen this, I should be at 100k. If I'm not, you could be my 100,000 subscriber. How special is that? You get fuck all for it, but that's life really, isn't it? Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye bye.